Once again, I am Danette Edwards, the founder of Corona Daze Professional Development Group. I am here this morning with David Mendoza. He is an educator and a Columbia national living in Canada. He's been there for over 14 years, and he's here today to talk to us about transitioning to life in a new country, and I'm going to immediately turn it over to him so he can tell us about himself before he begins his presentation. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Danette, very much for having me on this webinar opportunity to chat with you and our attendees. I know that we have people on Zoom, and I know that we have people on Facebook. So I'm really appreciative of the opportunity. As you mentioned, I'm an educator, Toronto-based educator. I moved to Canada 14 years ago in the year 2006. And so I experienced a huge transition that I had to experience because I wanted to make a drastic change in my life. And transitions come with challenges, but they come with a lot of excitement as well. So we're going to be talking about some of those things that folks who are looking to move to other countries can take into consideration to make sure that the transition runs smoothly and that they can thrive in their life, academic and career endeavors as well. So if anybody has any questions or something, I'm going to share my screen in a few minutes to show you a presentation that I've come up with to help you illustrate better the topics that we will be talking about within the next hour. Feel free to write your questions in the chat, whatever questions you have, and then we will take it from there. So as I was saying, I came to Canada in 2006. And in all honesty, it was love at first sight. As soon as I set my foot on Pearson's airport here in Toronto, I knew that I had found my place in the world. And I've done a lot of extensive travel, especially for the past 7 years, since I also do freelance work for the travel industry. But Toronto is my home now when I go to Colombia and see my family and my friends during the holidays. I know I'm from there. It's my roots. Is where I got my values and my humanity and what built me as a human being. But every time I come from a place, even if either Colombia or anywhere in the world, when I land in Toronto, I know I'm home. This is an amazing country, Canada. So today we will be talking about transitioning into life in a new country. I'm also the director of Orbit 5, which is a learning initiative that prepares international students and newcomers to transition smoothly into life in Canada. And I'm also part of the full part-time faculty at George Brown College, where I teach professional communication and career growth related courses. So we are talking about transitioning to life in a new country, but a lot of the things that we talk about today can be transferred or overlap with other transitions that you may be experiencing in your life, work transitions, career changes, etc. So some of the things will overlap. I would like to ask you, Danette, if you could pull the first poll just to have an idea of where people are joining us from today. Okay, so where are you guys joining us from? Are you in Canada? Are you in the United States? Are you in Africa? Or are you elsewhere? So we're gonna give you a few seconds to answer the question. And then Danette, when you feel ready to share the results. Okay, elsewhere. All right, cool. Okay. If you could write down in the chat, where are you joining us from? That would be lovely. And then Danette, if you can, let me know, because I don't think I don't have access to a chat right now. Okay. So I'm going to ask you if you could manage that and let us know.
Okay, so we have one person is from Colombia. Where else?
Nice.
Let's see, Colombia. Two people are from Colombia, is it?
Oh, there you go. Beautiful. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Sweet. All right, cool. So let's get started. Okay.
And then the US, and then on Facebook we have the US and the US and the US.
Okay, perfect. So Colombia, United States. We'll see if more people join us and see if we get more answers. So I'm also very appreciative of this opportunity because Danette, I know that you created this group and this initiative as a way to help folks who were struggling with, COVID-19 and how their lives got negatively impacted by it. So I'm happy that you're giving me the opportunity to help them maybe sail through that situation. So thank you very much. Okay, so this is our agenda for today. This is what we will chat today on the webinar. First, I'm going to lay out some goals. Then we're going to talk about the excitement. All transitions come with a lot of excitement, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the impact of the transition that you go to, especially if you are looking to move into a new country. We're going to talk about mental health, which is something that I like to incorporate in a lot of the work that I do, because in many cultures, this is a topic that it's not widely spoken about. So we're going to talk about it as well. We're going to talk about biases and prejudice, failing forward, and envisioning yourself. What would you like to? Where would you like to see yourself within the next few years if you were to actually dive into these transitions that you are thinking about? And then we're going to have some time for questions and answers. All right. If anybody has questions, like type them on the chat, and then you will just let me know. Or if there's questions on the Facebook Live as well, just let me know, and we'll try to make this as engaging as possible. All right. Okay, cool. So the goals for today's webinar: after this chat, hopefully you will be able to reflect on how this life transition that you are thinking of experiencing can help you grow. Also, hopefully you will be able to identify aspects of your personality and life that you need to unlearn in order to thrive in Canada, if this is a country that you decide to choose as the place where you would like to upgrade yourself and build a future for yourself, or any other country or any transition that you are willing to dive into. And finally, hopefully you will be able to learn how to handle stress and competing demands during your transition. All right. Okay, so for this webinar, you're gonna get the recording. So you don't need to take notes or anything. The net is gonna send you a recording, but you just need a piece of paper actually, just to maybe make some notes about some questions that I will be asking you throughout the session, the webinar. So, excitement. Every transition comes with excitement. I remember when I was coming to Canada in 2006, I was very excited because I was going through a personal period of my life where I was experiencing, I was in a dark hole. I'm gonna be very honest with you and be vulnerable. I was in a dark hole the last few years before moving to Canada. So I knew that I needed a drastic change in my life so that I could come out of that dark place. So it was a lot of excitement because there was the opportunity to experience something new. I had previously traveled to the UK while I was completing my bachelor's in business in Colombia. Halfway through, I went to the UK to improve my English. And that was my first big transition, if you will. But it was different because I knew that I was going to come back to Colombia to finish my studies and to stay there. But then when I came to Canada, I knew that was the place where I was going to stay for a while. I knew that I was not going to be able to see my family in a long time, all those things, right? But on the other hand, there was a lot of excitement. How can I change my life for the better? I'm going to meet new people. I'm going to be exposed to a different culture. I was very excited about Toronto specifically because Toronto is a very diverse place. Toronto is like a microcosmos of the planet in one same city. So that's something that I was very excited about, to see how I could interact with people from all walks of life and coming from different parts of the world. So that's something that I was very excited about, to experience seasons in a deeper level, because when I went to the UK, they had winter, but the winters there are nothing compared to the winters here in Canada, and the seasons here are more predominant, right? So I was very excited about experiencing the 4 seasons at full blast. I was very excited about experiencing different foods of the world, again, because we're talking about Toronto. And what I love the most about this city is the diversity. I love when you go into the subway and then you sit down and you can hear 5, 6, 7 different languages at the same time. I love that. There's different colors, shapes, perspectives, even fashion styles all over the place. So I was very excited about that, right? So I want to ask you, what if you are thinking about moving to a new country, what do you find most attractive about the prospect of moving to that place? And second, what are you most excited about regarding your move specifically to whatever country you're choosing? So I'd like you to write that down in the piece of paper that you grab for yourself. And if you feel comfortable to tell us and to share with us, what are your answers? What answers are you coming up with about excitement during this transition that you are thinking about experiencing? If you feel comfortable sharing your answers, that would be greatly appreciated. So I'm going to give you a few seconds for you to think about that. What is it, right? Think about maybe other transitions that you have experienced in the past. What were you excited about? And now that you're thinking about another one, what's different from those other transitions that you have experienced before, right? It could be a career transition. It could be even a promotion within the same company, transitioning to a different role, transitioning into a different program at school, transitioning to relocating maybe to a different city in your home country. So what is it? What do you get excited about those times? And now what's different in terms of excitement about a prospect of either moving to a new country, Canada specifically, or another life transition that you are thinking about right this moment? And then just let me know if someone is sharing.
Anything yet? Let's see.
Anybody
Oh, okay. Wait, I do.
Okay, yeah.
I'm excited. So this is from Andrea, and Andrea says, I'm excited about the fact that you can be humble and learn from other cultures and share yours with others.
Nice. I love that. And you know what? Like now that you mentioned that word humble, right? We're going to talk about that when we talk about biases and prejudice, right? So I think it's beautiful that you are having that mindset, so that you come here with an open mind, right? I think part of the excitement is to be able to break down stereotypes that you have of other cultures, of other places, and just come with an open mind and see what you can learn from other people that maybe look substantially different from you at first glance, and see what you can teach them as well, right? What opportunities are for everybody to learn from one another. Thank you very much, Andrea, for sharing. Anybody else?
Yes, I do. So Sheikh Shams says, the most attractive will be getting more opportunities in my field of work and to get to know other cultures. The most excited is to start everything from scratch.
Nice. Amazing. Okay, amazing. Because that's a great point. And every person is a different universe, right? So some people want to start from scratch. Other people would like to maybe have something more planned out. And I think both strategies work. So what you said that you're excited about, like new maybe work prospects or other opportunities for the betterment of your career progression and what have you. You need to start, if your plan is to come to Canada or go into the US or the UK or Australia, you need to start doing the work before you arrive in the country, actually. One of the things that happen is that newcomers and international students, when they come to these countries, they come with a wealth of experience and education, but they don't come with connections, right? And now, there's a few sayings there. Like one of them is like, it's not what you know, but who you know. And there's another saying that says, your network is your net worth. And that's how I define social capital, actually. So the earlier you start your process of connecting with other people who are maybe doing jobs that are similar to the jobs that you are interested in doing, the more questions you ask them, the more insight you get from those people, the easier it is going to be for you to learn about the ins and outs of that industry, of those jobs, and maybe get a referral so that you get some, at least some informational interviews lined up upon arrival that can expedite your work prospects. Okay. Anything else about excitement?
I don't have anything else, David.
All right, fair enough. So yeah, so I want you to start thinking about it. What is it that excites you? I'm gonna give you a personal example about excitement, right? When I finished high school, right, a very rigid and structured uh, school that I attended, right, and I was like pretty lost about what I wanted to do with my life, right. I knew that I was very into humanities, into languages, into these things, but back in the day, like like the professions that were sought after or that society told you that you had to pursue to in order to be successful were engineering, med school, business, economy, you name it. 5 or 6 mainstream careers, right? And I remember that when I was going to the places, the universities to find out information about the programs, right? Um, Back this is the mid late 90s, right? So we didn't have internet, like, or at least not the way we have it now. So we actually had to go to the places and get the physical brochures to get information about the programs. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to study business because my dad has a business. Eventually I can take over, right? That was my rationale. I didn't think about anything else. After a while, after I enrolled in the program, I realized it was not the best decision, but what can you do, right? But I remember, talking about excitement, I remember going through the syllabus of those programs, right? And I was seeing like a lot of accounting, statistics, financial related courses that were not speaking to me, right? That spoke to other people who were more into those things, right? So there was zero excitement. And at the end of the day, I decided to still enroll in that program, knowing that there was no excitement whatsoever. So at the end of the day, after a few semesters, I understood that it was a very bad decision. I decided to pull through and continue and graduate. But in retrospect, I could have done something else, do more research, talk to more people, and look for other career paths that were more aligned with my vision, my values, the things that I enjoy doing. And I think the outcome would have been better. Anyways, it was a learning experience. We learned from everything, and I did learn a lot still from going to that business program. But that's what I want you to start thinking about. What is it that excites you about this place, right? Compared to other places that you're having in mind. Okay, so that's with excitement. Now, impact. Can you please
Oh,
pull
David,
the
I have
second
one.
poll? Oh
David, I
yeah,
have one more.
yeah.
So Andrea says, I find most attractive about moving to Canada and Toronto, the chance to find people with different objectives, but with the same open mind to share life with others.
Nice. That's great because like you'll see that in Toronto, right? Like it's a society where people from all over the world coexist in harmony, right? There's still like challenges, right? Like every place in the world has there's challenges, of course, that we have to deal with. But for the most part, it's a very welcoming society and people coexist here in harmony. So I'm very happy that you're sharing that with us because I'm sure that you're gonna have like a great time when you come here. If you can. Okay, now we're gonna talk about impact now. Then now we have like covered excitement. Let's talk about the impact of the transition and how that transition, how can that, sorry, the impact that is gonna make in your life and in your life or your family if you are thinking about maybe moving to another country with your spouse, your kids, etc. So the question is, how do you feel about leaving everything behind to start a new life in a different place? The options are excited, scared, empowered, anxious. You can't wait. If there's another answer that you would like to share with us, just type it up in the chat, and then Janet will share it with us.
All right, I'm gonna give a couple more seconds. Everyone didn't answer, but we have a, all right, I'm gonna end it now. So we can go, okay, here we go. All right. So am I sharing results?
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so let's see. So 67% of you said that you feel empowered, which is amazing. Because yeah, like I think making that decision, like to leave out, the place where you know everything about, and when you know everyone around you, right? Just to go into the unexpected, I think is a very empowering. I think it's a very empowering feeling. And what was the other one?
Anxious, 33%.
Anxious. Okay,
Sorry.
and that's no problem. And anxious. And thank you very much for your honesty and for sharing that with us. Anxiety is one of the things that definitely come with a transition. And whoever says that they don't feel anxious to some extent, I think they're not being true to themselves, or they're maybe in denial mode. So there are things that you can do to mitigate that anxiety, of course, right? But things that some of the things we were talking before. Start making connections with people in your industries of interest, or maybe if you're coming as an international student to take school, start making relationships with your faculty, with your program coordinator. Ask your program coordinator to connect you with maybe other international students, or with other current local students as well, or even alumni who have walked that path already, so they can help you get a better understanding of different things, including the academic load. What are some of the places that they are choosing to do their co-ops or placements? What they found were the most challenging subjects? What are the things that they enjoy the most? Again, the more insight you have, the more you'll be able to mitigate that level of anxiety. If you're coming with, for example, your family and your spouse and children, for example, right? Then start doing some research about places that support newcomers, right? The government, at least here in Canada, there's a lot of programs that the government offer for free that helps you also to smooth up your transition, and they connect you with different resources that can help you out with that. If you are coming here to look for better work opportunities, then my suggestion is that you start doing research of companies that are Canadian based. Could be like multinationals that are all over the world, but like places that here in Canada, and the people who work for those companies, start doing the research. Again, what is it that you wanna that attracts you to those companies? How well do you relate with their mission statements, with their products, their services, right? What are the contributions that you would like to make, and what are the problems that you would like to solve for those organizations, and to add value to the people who work for those organizations, right? And start engaging with people who work on those companies. How? The best way, and we're going to talk in further detail about this later, is LinkedIn, right? It's a platform that I feel that once COVID hit, everybody started paying more attention to, right? Because virtually you can connect with anybody in the world. And because of this pandemic, I think it has enhanced or shown a level of empathy and solidarity among most of the members of the platform, that people are more willing to give their time and help you out with information that you can use for your own benefit. Okay, so thank you very much for sharing those emotions. So again, for your own exercise, right, that piece of paper that I asked you to get, how is this currently impacting your well-being and your sanity? The thought about that transition, how it's impacting you, right? Positively or negatively, right? Now, if you're coming on your own, fine, but still, even if you're coming by yourself, this is going to have an impact on the people around you, on your beloved ones, right? So how is this impacting the lives of the people around you, right? That's if you're coming by yourself. If you're coming with someone else, how is that decision that you made, maybe in conjunction with your spouse or your family members, how is that impacting the other people? How is it impacting your kids as well, right? Positively and negatively. And second question, what or who are you going to miss the most, and what are you going to do to cope with that? So let me know if there's any questions. Again, I'm going to give you a few seconds and a few minutes to think about this impact that the transition may have on your lives. And then if anybody feels comfortable and safe to share their answers, please feel free to do it, and Danette will update us on that as well.
I have a question.
Yeah.
From Andrea. She says, Could you share where on the internet she can find free programs sponsored by the government in Canada, please, David?
Absolutely, yeah. So I will, there's another slide like later on that I will show you with some resources that can help you. But for now, if you're thinking about Canada, a website that you can check is 211.ca, number two, number one.ca. It has a lot of resources for newcomers, transitioning, health services, etc. Settlement services, recreational services, etc.
I don't have anything else, David.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. So I want you to think about that, right? So think about the impact, right? That this is going to make in your life, both negative impact, positive impact, and what are some of the things that you can do to cope with the impact if it's negative? What kind of conversations do you want to have first with yourself, right? I think with something that we fail to do, like we don't talk to ourselves often, right? And I think this is something that we can do more often, just to be more in tune with our emotions and to in tune with what we think and how we can cope with changes more positively and more proactively. And also, how are you going? What are you going to miss the most, right? Who are you going to miss the most? For example, if you're going to miss food the most, that's fine. That's easy to fix because there's like all restaurants from all over the world here in Toronto. But yeah, but like go deeper, right? What is it, and how are you going to cope with that feeling? All right. Okay, mental. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
So Andrea says, for sure, these days have impacted my well-being and sanity in a positive way. I have found that I can organize my week and be as productive as before this pandemic. Actually, I love the fact that I can time myself and my relatives during so I guess spend time with myself and my relatives during these times.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Beautiful. So it sounds like that Andrea is making the most of the crisis, if you will, right? By using the time to hang out and like interact with more with the family. That's interesting because and I was thinking about this in another webinar before. I think that before the biggest commodity besides data is like time, right? Nobody had time for anything before COVID, right? You would text a friend or someone to do something. Oh, sorry, I'm busy. Everyone was busy, and that kind of gave you status. Saying that you were busy, it gave you status, right? Now what we have is time. Of course, there's people, and again, like everybody's a different reality, right? There's people who have like children at home, and now they have to homeschool, and that. So it differs, right? But now we have time to delve into projects that we had in mind and we never did, to learn a new skill, a new tool, something that you've always wanted to learn, and to what is the word that I want to use, to reconnect maybe with the people that are important in your life in a deeper level. So good for you, Andrea. All right, cool. So we're going to talk about mental health, and as I said at the beginning, this is a topic that is very dear to my heart because one of the classes that I teach here at George Brown College in Toronto is called Career and Life Transitions, and the student population are students who face mental health and addiction challenges. Sorry. So for the past 4 years, I've been heavily exposed to the world of mental health, and before that, I didn't know much about it because in Colombia, nobody spoke about mental health ever. At least before 2006, when I left, nobody spoke about mental health. I realized after my move here and when I started like getting in touch with folks who work in the mental health realm and talking with students who face those challenges, that I experienced mental health challenges myself, especially when I was going through those dark days in my life. But I just thought, well, I'm sad, or people would just tell you, well, you're sad, everything's gonna be fine. No, it's like something deeper that if you don't take care of, it's very hard for you to thrive in whatever endeavors you set for yourself. So what's mental health is a person conditions with regard to their psychological and emotional being, right? And it has a massive effect on how we think, feel, act, and interact socially, right? So before we talk more about the topic, if you don't mind pulling the third poll, please, Danette. So, is mental health a common topic of discussion in your country? Yes or no? Simple question. Or wherever you are right at the moment, even if it's not your home country, your country of origin. No, 67%, and yes, 33%. Usually, when I ask this question, usually is the same answer. The big majority of people, if there are not enough North America, the answer is no, right? So I'm not surprised to hear that. So I think it's great that that you're here right now, learning a little bit more about this topic and how you must make your mental health your top priority when you're thinking about your transition in Canada, and especially for the first period when you arrive in the country. Why you must make always, but like why those initial days are it's paramount for you to make it your top priority. So, as I was mentioning before, in Canada, we've been talking openly about mental health maybe for the past 6 or 7 years, right? But in other countries, this is not the case, which is a shame because nobody is exempted of experiencing a mental health challenge throughout their lifespan, right? And now again, if we want to make things more relevant and current with the COVID situation, we are seeing, and what this is a personal opinion, I think people are dying more of mental health than the virus itself, right? Because when your mind is not in a good state, that decreases your immune system as well, so you are more prone to get viruses and get sick, etc. Right? Here's the problem, that in other countries, mental health is still a huge taboo, right? People don't talk about it, and whoever has the courage to talk about it and express a mental or express an imbalance that they're sensing that they're having in their lives, and in something that is not keeping up their sanity, they are considered as weak. They are considered unworthy, right? So that's why people are so scared about talking about these topics openly. So I'm gonna give you an example of a newcomer, of an international student. Imagine someone who came to Canada in January, right? They came in January, they had gone through all that process of self-awareness, of thinking about the excitement and thinking about the impact, think about their own challenges that they will face. And they came here, they had to face and overcome the initial challenges that come with the transition to move into a country, right? They started adapting to the language. They started adapting to the new social dynamics. They started making friends, which means they started making a family, because when you move to another country, your friends become your family, right? So they start making a family. And then 6 weeks later, they're told, imagine an international student from India, right? The international student from India gets told, so starting tomorrow, all your classes are going to be delivered on an online basis. That means that you cannot go back to school anymore. And second, you have to go into a strict lockdown. You cannot leave your place at all. Only once a week if you want to buy groceries or if you need to go to a pharmacy, right? So imagine the situation of that person. That person not only is thinking about their family back home in India, right? Thinking about, oh my God, like my family are in a country where maybe they don't have, the medical services are not equipped to deal with this pandemic if this situation explodes. So they're worrying about their family, their relatives, their friends there. And on top of that, and they're thinking, and I'm here, I'm not there supporting them, right? So imagine what's going through their mind already. And second, they cannot even go outside and see their friends that they have made. So they are in complete isolation. pretty much, unless they have roommates and that, but we don't know the situation of the person, right? So that's something that impacts heavily the mental health of that international student or that newcomer. And that's why it's paramount to be aware of the resources that are available in case you experience something like this, right? So what is the solution for that international student? First of all, use the resources that they have at hand. So play with what they have. What they have at the moment is the institution, right? There's counselors, professional counselors, certified counselors who are delivering their services online now, who will be more than happy to talk to the student to help them navigate the situation, right? First. But even before that, it is important to acknowledge that something is off. It's very important to acknowledge that you're waking up in the morning and feeling differently, right? Feeling that you don't have the same level of energy, feeling that you don't have the same drive and you don't have the same motivation. What is it? What's going on, right? The problem is that most people, when they experience something like this, they resort to quick fixes, right? To put up with the situation. Alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, right? To numb the pain. But they don't deal with it deeply, right? So first of all, acknowledging that something is quite off. Second, looking for help, asking for help. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you human to ask for help, right? And again, you are paying as an international student, you're paying 3 times the amount of tuition in fees that a local student pays. So that is included in your tuition. It's not free because you're paying for that. So you might as well use those resources, right? For newcomers, I'm going to show you a slide after about like places that you can resort to that can help you navigate the situation as well with mental health. In other countries, I don't have information about other countries, but then you will do your research and see other institutions or entities that can help you with that.
Okay,
Another thing.
I have a couple of comments.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, please.
So Mr. Mendoza, what you were saying is so true. Thank you for your transparency. This is about talking about mental health. This is from Aranda in Jamaica, West Indies. And in her country, and she says, no, mental health is not a common topic here. As you said, the North American countries tend to focus on this topic. This is very unfortunate. Most cultures are not willing to discuss these topics because they are shamed for even expressing emotions. Mm-hmm. Most persons are taught to keep things to themselves, particularly the way they feel inside, and spiritual beliefs most definitely add to this factor as well. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to say that while David is referencing primarily international students, that almost everything he's saying could apply to someone who's not a student, but emigrating 100%. To a new country. Okay, guys? All right.
And for example, you know what, like if you are in a situation like that in your country where you feel that maybe something is off and then there's no the same level of support, then what I would, and again, like now we live in a different environment now. Like if this would have happened maybe 10, 15 years ago, it would have been impossible to deal with. But now we have unlimited access to information and technology and resources, right? So for example, there's a doctor in the US called Mark Goldston. Let me see if I can type it in the chat. He has a podcast, so you can, how do I go with the chat? So you can go, here. So you can, like Goldston, maybe look for his podcast, right? And learn from that, and maybe incorporate into your life maybe resources or techniques that he shares with the other people, and he shares also stories from his patients, and that maybe that can help you if there's zero support from your government or in the place where you are right now, because it's like we're very fortunate here in Canada that we can talk more openly about it. There's still a lot of stigma around mental health, especially in the workplace, right? I work, for example, the biggest fear of the students that I work with is that even though a lot of them have had like very successful career trajectories, or some of them, for example, have worked for the government of Canada for 20 years, but then they have to leave that to look after themselves, right? Their biggest, for a year or two, their biggest fear to go back to the workplace is to write down a resume because they don't know how to deal with that gap in employment, right? Because it's stigmatized, right? I think that after COVID, the stigma is going to decrease a little bit because even recruiters and hiring managers, due to this new reality, they are experiencing mental health challenges. So I think people are going to be more empathetic when it comes to these challenges, right? But if you don't have, so for example, I was talking to my brothers the other day. Both of my brothers are still in Colombia, and they are also entrepreneurs, and they are very positive and optimistic people. But this pandemic has affected them deeply, and for the first time, they have opened themselves about their emotions, how they feel. They've been more open about it, like to try to also to inspire other people, especially like small business owners, etc. So talk about it, like find, if you don't have maybe a lot of resources, if, for example, from an educational institution or from an official entity, look for people around you where you feel safe and start a conversation, right? Because you don't know that maybe because you don't know that maybe your conversation resonates, other people can resonate with your conversation, and they don't feel alone, because that is the biggest thing about mental health, that when something like this happens, the person feels that they are alone, that nobody else is experiencing that. And that's the biggest, the first thing the first stereotype that we need to break, that you never know how this conversation can help and impact other people. So I encourage you to do that and look for resources online that you can resort to and can help you navigate whatever challenges you are experiencing, or someone may be experiencing as well. Okay. All right. Okay. So then in your piece of paper, I wanted to ask you again, like, jot down some ideas regarding the following questions. How are you going to ensure that your mental health is your priority? If you are moving to another country, Canada or in another country, how are you going to make sure that your mental health is your priority? If you are going through a different type of transition, right? If you're going through maybe a career change, if you're going through looking for another job or something, how are you going to make sure that your mental health is your priority? Because we also see that career changers can experience mental health challenges as well. Because again, it's going into the unexpected, it's going into a completely new field. Your confidence can drop down because you might feel that you don't have like whatever years of experience, etc. So your mental health can be impacted as well. And if your mental health is not on point, it is very difficult to thrive in whatever endeavors you want to thrive in. So how are you going to ensure that your mental health is your priority? What are you going to do? Again, if your mental health deteriorates, you cannot pursue your goals effectively. Okay. Could you pull the third poll, please? The next poll, please, Danette. Okay. So how much do you practice self-care to make sure your mental health is on point? Never. Only when you feel distressed, or on a regular basis? Be honest with your answers, like nobody's seeing your name or anything. So it's all good. Okay, 50-50, interesting. Only when you feel distressed and on a regular basis. Okay. Good thing that nobody said never. If you practice self-care on a regular basis, congratulations. I'm happy that you are taking the time to worry about yourself, to look after yourself. It all comes down to that. We need to look after ourselves. Especially, for example, if you work in fields where you are required to work with people, social work, education, humanities, etc. When you are constantly providing support to people, you are always worrying about others, but sometimes you fail to worry about yourself. So if that's you, you have to make sure that you practice self-care as well. And only when you feel distressed, good as well. But if you try to incorporate self-care in your daily routine, that would be great. And again, every person is a different universe. So self-care varies from person to person, right? You have to think about things that you like doing out of your work and school spectrum that re-energize you, that make you feel good about yourself, that give you an opportunity to develop something new, that make you feel good, that helps you feel a spark within, right? So that you can do more of that. So, for example, from my personal experience, I love food, right? Food is one of my biggest drivers, and because I have also had the chance to work in culinary tourism, it's something that I like to incorporate in all the activities that I do. Before the pandemic, I was not cooking a lot because, again, life was too busy, right? You were all and about every day of the week. Now, with the pandemic, I'm cooking every day, once or twice a day, even sometimes, right? And that helps. That has been such a massive distressor, right? It puts me in a very good mood. It gives me the chance to increase my creativity, my time management, um, my budgeting management as well, etc. So it's helped me to really cope with this pandemic in a very positive way. So you want to think about what works for you. What are some of the things that you could do? Of course, based on the limitations that we have at the moment. Because like, if you say that for you, your self-care for you would be the best thing would be going to a club and dance the night away. It's not. It's not a chance. It's not a realistic thing right now because all places are closed, right? So think about something that you could do within your own limitations, current limitations, that can help you um, uh, look after yourself, and can help you deal with the stress so that your mental health becomes your top priority. And also think about what supports you will need to ensure that your mental health is on point. Is it the support from your family, from your spouse, from your children, from your relatives, from your faculty if you're a student, from your program coordinators, from your manager if you are at work, right? Or from a specialized institution or from a professional. So think about it. Again, think about your current reality. For Canada, some of the places that can offer you full support when it comes to mental health is the Center for Addiction and Mental Health, CAMH.ca, the Canadian Mental Health Association, CMHA.ca. As I mentioned before, 211 Ontario, 211ontario.ca, where you can get a lot of resources for mental health, but also other resources related to settlement, recreation, etc., which are great for people who are coming here in the country. And also the Wellesley Institute are folks doing great work towards making sure that people can navigate whatever challenges that they come across regarding mental health. So if you're thinking about another country, then you'll have to do your research and see what institutions or what resources are available. But again, Google is your best friend nowadays, right? I don't know if there's any questions or comments or thoughts right now.
So I just have some examples of self-care. So some is quiet, focusing on quiet time.
There you go.
Getting out for some exercise alone, journaling, or even dancing.
There you go. Beautiful. Another thing that I've done actually, that I forgot to mention, because we have like super long winters here in Canada, right? This winter was like, I think it was like June first week, and we were not wearing a winter coat, but we were still wearing a light jacket, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So then once the weather started getting better, there's like a park, just 10 minutes from my place, and it has a beautiful ravine and a trail. And I usually get up in the mornings very early. So just like going there and take a walk, an hour or 2 hours a day, just walk, and maybe listening to a music or a podcast or something, and just walk and feel nature and see the green. It makes such a difference. And I start my days on a better mood, on a positive note, usually, right? Just because of that, right? And how much it cost me? Zero, right? So again, so do whatever works for you. Now we're gonna talk another important topic: biases, right? Prejudice. This was huge for me as well when I moved to Canada, because in South America, I'm going to speak about this, from a South American perspective, right? You grow up with so much prejudice. You don't need to be from a wealthy family to grow up with your head full of prejudice. The biggest problems, in my opinion, that South America faces, socially speaking, are racism and classism, right? So we're super prejudiced there, right? If you come to this country with your head full of prejudice, I'm sorry, like, you won't thrive. You won't be able to adapt to this society, especially if you're coming to a society like Toronto, where people look so different at first glance from what you look like. But if you take the time to engage with them, to have a conversation with them, and to treat everyone you meet with the utmost respect, you will see that there's more similarities than there are differences, right? So that's one of the things that you want to start thinking about, right? I remember, I have a partnership with a Colombian consulate here in Toronto, and I do a program with them for newcomers on a yearly basis. And 2 years ago, we had a group, and then I remember there was this lady who had been here for a while, maybe 5-6 years, and then there was two other members of the group. There were a couple. They were married, and they had been in Toronto like for 2 weeks or something. They were new to the country. And then this lady told them that they, she made a very Islamophobic comment, right? And I said, no, like, they just got here. Like, they can't, what value are you adding to their lives and to the transition if you talk about this? And you're making a prejudice you're putting a prejudice in their head, and they don't need that. Let them experience things by themselves. And this is just prejudices that she had in her mind that she never acknowledged and that she never dealt with, only because she was scared of the people from those countries. And she never gave herself the chance to actually talk to someone from those countries and find out that they are Latinos at heart. If you pay attention to them, right? My one of my best friends is from Iran, it's Persian, right? And when I go through a place, right, for dinner, sometimes I tell his mom, like, this is something that my mom could be making for dinner at home in Colombia tonight.
I love it.
Seriously, like, it's like, and they're hard and they're so welcoming, guys, so beautiful, right? But if you're gonna come to think about people based on what you hear on mainstream media, I'm sorry, you're screwed, right? And for example, we Colombians, we know what this feels like because we endured world prejudice for 25 years at least, from the early 90s until maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago when when internal conflict started coming to an end. Everybody hated us. Everybody was scared of Colombians and going to Colombia. Now, people go to Colombia and they don't want to come back because they see, oh my God, like, I missed out. Like, why did I pay attention to that BS, right? Instead of like going and experiencing things myself, right? So that's the thing here. So in your piece of paper, the exercise that I want you to do for yourself is, what is the prejudice that you grew up with? And only you know the answer. Only you know the answer. What is it? Oh, people from this culture is this. People from their culture are that. People are lazy. People are that. And we have like a lot of prejudice in Colombia as well, within our own people, right? That we see that people from this from this region, are lazy. From these people, they are cold. They're assholes. People from that, like that. Again, we as a country, we prefer to live by the stereotype than giving other people a chance, right? I experienced that in Peru as well 2 years ago when I brought a group of students on a culinary tour there. I told the guide that we had in Cusco, I told him, hey man, I'm so positively overwhelmed by the kindness and the acceptance and the service of the people here. And he told me, of course, Dave, but because you're a foreigner. But here we hate each other, right? Yeah. And because he's indigenous looking, and that he's like, they hate us. Instead of like, you know, like embracing us, because the Inca culture and all the things that they did and the beautiful culture that they grew, and because of them is that the world wants to see them.
Wants to come there,
People, right? The other people, they prefer to look down on them, right? So I wanted to ask yourself that question, right? What is the prejudice? What prejudice do you grow up with? You need to have like a very honest conversation with yourself. Challenge yourself with this one. It's paramount, right? How are you going to coexist with folks who look substantially different from you, right? Especially if you come to Toronto. There's all colors, all shapes, people wearing different things, right? So how are you going to coexist with that and be okay with that and learn from that? Speaking of learning now, even more importantly, what do you need to unlearn in order to adjust to your new reality, right? And this overlaps for career as well. If you are going through a career change, what are you willing to unlearn in order to make a smooth transition, right? If you are changing teams, for example, within the same company, or taking a new role or taking new customers, whatever it is, what do you need to unlearn to make sure that you successfully transition into whatever you need to transition, right? Usually these are topics or that we have like prejudices against folks with challenges, disabilities, LGBTQ+, right? Folks, ageism, Islamophobia, racism, social classes, right? Like the examples that I mentioned from my experience, like growing up in Colombia. So that's with biases. Very, very important that you start leaving your prejudice behind and have an open mind. I'm going to tell you from a personal story. When I came to Canada in 2006, I came with 4 things: $700 in my pocket, the language, one connection, a friend of mine, one connection, and an open mind. That's it. That's in an open mind, right? So how are you going to develop that open-mindedness so that you can adjust better to your new realities? Okay. Are there any questions or thoughts?
I just have, well, I actually told everybody, because we have people from other countries in Africa, that this includes tribalism, which is a form of, it's a bias. It's, you know, different tribes, which is rampant in certain parts of Africa. And then Rhonda says, even growing up in a melting pot like New York, there was still racism, you know.
In New York? Here too. Here too. For example, here, right? There's like some people have a huge conflict because and this is terrible. So they, for example, I see it a lot, especially in Asian cultures, that people change their name, right? To something that sounds more Anglo-Saxon, just to make the life of the other person easier. I'm like, look, if you want to change your name because you want to change your name, go for it, right? If tomorrow I don't want to be called David, but I want to be Marcus, whatever, right? Well, this is my choice. It's my choice. But if you have to do it to comply with a system, right, to make the other person's life easier, I think it's terrible, right? And I think it's laziness from our end, right? When have you seen someone from North America going to China and changing their name from William to Xiaohai?
Yes. Okay.
Never.
Yeah, never.
Never, and you will never see it. Tell me, in reality, what name is more difficult to pronounce? Shuai or Frederick? I think Frederick is is harder to pronounce if you ask me. But it's just that. It's just like that we somehow, when we come from other countries, we kind of feel inferior, right? So if you do it, I have talking about Shuai, I have one of my friends here, his name is Shuai, but he changed it to Jerry, right? And he loved Jerry, and he did it because he wanted to do it. Good for him. I used to have a colleague actually at the college before. He had changed his Chinese name to an English name, and after a few years, he switched again.
Switched it back.
Yeah, and he embraced his Chinese name.
Wow.
And we all had to learn, right? We all had to unlearn the English name and start calling him by his Chinese name. Right. It took a while, but we had to do it.
Yeah.
It's not difficult. We we have to do it, right? So that, yeah.
And I bet you, David, you said you came with $700. You knew one person, one other thing, and an open mind, right?
Yeah.
So I bet you the open mind got you farther than anything else.
Sorry, say that again?
I bet you the open mind took you farther than anything else.
That's it. That's it. Because I was willing to learn and see and like, you know what? Again, it's not that I want to talk bad about my culture, but there's a lot of things that we need to improve in my culture, right? And I love being Colombian. And I'm always like promoting my country because I would love people to go there actually and lead a culinary tour down the road, etc. Right? But you know what is the first question that I remember when I was in high school and university? When you met someone new, you know what was the first question that you asked that other person? Where do you go for school? Not even your name. Where do you go for school? Depending on the answer, right, that person gave you, in a millisecond, you decided if you wanted to establish a relationship with that person or not. In a millisecond. If the name of that school or that institution was aligned with yours, right? Sure, right? If the name was maybe not in the same social status, you would turn your back and you would not engage in a conversation with that person. And it's so sad because you miss out on meeting great humans who may have not had the same opportunities, but are great nevertheless. They are smart, right? They are driven. They want to, better themselves. They want to contribute to the growth of your society, right? But you miss out on that because of the prejudice. Yeah. Because they tell you, oh, but like people from that school, oh, are you going to have a friend from that school? Like how? What do you mean? Your family, your friends, everybody tells you that stuff, right? And it impacts you and it's ingrained in your head, right? So when I'm here, right, I'm like, I started meeting people. I'm like, you know what? Like maybe if I had met this person in Colombia 5 years ago, maybe we wouldn't have become friends. Yeah. And they've taught me many lessons. They're amazing people, right? So think about that for your transition. All right. And I'm sure this happens in many cultures around the world, because for example, my Persian friend tells me, oh my God, like we're super racist, right?
Oh yeah.
We all have biases.
Yeah, we all have them.
And with the social climate that we are experiencing today, like I think it's an opportunity for all of us to realize that we all are biased, right? We need to acknowledge that, embrace that, embrace it, but like to make a change, right? Not embrace, oh shit, I'm biased. Yeah, sure, I embrace it. I love it. No, to make a change, right? Okay, failing forward, right? Now, so when you come to this country, right, you may.
I didn't launch this poll, David.
Oh.
We didn't launch this one. So
okay, go ahead.
This one. Yeah.
Go ahead, yeah.
All right. So this poll, and for you guys on Facebook, this one says, because they can't see the polls, did you grow up with prejudice towards folks who look substantially different from you? So on Facebook, guys, this is the poll. Did you grow up with prejudice towards folks who look substantially different from you?
The options are yes, no, and maybe, but I never thought about it.
Give the options. Yes, no, or maybe, but I never thought about it. So, this is interesting. We have 100% of yes on the webinar, and
there you go.
We have a no, one no, and I don't have other people. Though they're there, they're not responding. So we can go on on Facebook.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, just ask yourself that
they're
question.
There, but they're not responding, I guess.
All right, beautiful. Now, failing forward, right, is another word that I want to use for when you maybe face rejection, right? Because you might experience that when you come to this country, right? Also depending on the strategy that you implement. For example, specifically talking about like the job search process, right? So here's what happens. Again, people come here, right? And they experience different stages, right? First is like a honeymoon stage, because they hear, and then city looks beautiful, it's clean, transportation system works perfectly, the subway's on time always, the bus is on time, people drive carefully, right? You don't hear like honking all the time, right? So you're like, oh, okay, I kind of like this, blah blah blah, right? Then the time comes for them to start looking for work, right? But because they are only resorting to online applications and they're sending 200 resumes online, right? And they're getting maybe one call for an interview or nothing, right? Then they feel bad, they feel rejected, they feel that their experience is not valid anymore, right? So they start doubting themselves. Yeah. People with managerial positions, right? I've talked to clients who've had been managers at banks, at insurance companies, at marketing firms, right, for 10, 12 years, right? And they come here and they don't hear that, right? So they start feeling that, oh, maybe I was not as smart as I thought I was. Maybe I was not as capable as I thought it was. No, you were, and you are, and you will be. Your confidence is dropping down because you are not getting this call for an interview, right? So the world of work and the hiring process has evolved drastically and rapidly over the past few years, right? The problem with those applications, right, is that you send a resume and you are competing. If you are at least like applying to the largest organizations, you are competing against thousands of people for one same job, right? Because imagine, say I'm gonna give you, for example, the Bank of Montreal, yeah, for example. Imagine that they have this marketing coordinator position open, right? People for that position, people from Toronto are going to send resumes. People from Ontario are going to send resumes. People from other provinces are going to send resumes. And people from overseas are going to send resumes because they think, well, I'm going to send my resume and see what happens, right? So there's like thousands. And because the system is open to receive all kinds of applications, right? So your resume most likely will get lost. Will get lost in the shuffle, right? And it will never get to touch human hands. So it's not necessarily that you have a bad resume, it's that your resume never landed in another human's hands, right? Because you have to beat the ATS, the application tracking system software, which is a robot or a bot who is filtering those applications and giving the best ones to the hiring managers, or not even the best ones. I don't know what criteria sometimes they use, right? Sometimes also I was talking to a recruiter once, and she said to me, you know what, we get like thousands of resumes. So what we do, we print them, right? And we put them in 2 stacks, right? And we take, okay, let's take this one, this stack, and they review those ones. And they said the other ones, we cannot like throw them away, so we archive them, right? So what if your resume was the next behind or the next one after the first pile, right? It's now archived. Nobody ever saw it, right? So the best way for you to do that is be able to optimize your job search strategy when you are dealing or thinking about transitioning to Canada or another country, right? Again, to try to build human connections beforehand where you understand what a workplace in that new country looks like and how you can transfer your best elements from your experience, from your home, to add value on to your new roles. Think it this way. If you were able to succeed and thrive in a very volatile environment in your home country, imagine the things that you could do in the work environment here, right? So think about it. Communication skills, right? Doesn't matter if you have an accent. I have an accent still after 14 years, and I've studied English since I was 6 for over 35 years, right? but I still have an accent, right? Your accent is not the problem, right? Embrace your accent, because when you have an accent, it immediately tells the other person that you at least can communicate in one more language, sorry. You at least can communicate in two languages. That gives you an advantage already if you see it as an advantage. If you see it as a disadvantage, then you will be in a disadvantage because your confidence will not emerge, right? One of the things that I hear a lot when I talk to international students and newcomers, imagine that we're doing an exercise that they have to present or say something. The first words that come out of their mind are, sorry for my English my English is not very good. I hate that, right? And I'm like, change that language, because you are sabotaging yourself, right? Tell yourself, if you are still in the process of improving your language, tell yourself, my English is better today than it was yesterday, and tomorrow will be better than it is today. It's improving, right? But do not apologize, right? If that's the challenge, then ask yourself, what are you doing to overcome that challenge, right? Are you joining conversation clubs? Are you watching movies in English? Are you listening to music in English? Or are you still immersed in your own language, right? So that's the first thought that you want to put in your head. Talking about the other way, when have you seen someone from Canada, the United States, the UK, or Australia going to Mexico, Colombia, Peru to learn Spanish and apologize for their level of Spanish? Never. I've never heard anyone, excuse me, sorry, my Spanish is very good. They don't care. They talk, they make mistakes because people find it cute. They laugh, but they understand the whole context, right? And by making mistakes is how they learn, right? So don't be afraid about your accent. Embrace it. There's always things that you can do to make sure that you enunciate and you articulate clearly so that your message is understood. It's not the accent, it's your ability to make yourself understood, right? There's people, language therapists that can help you get rid of your accent, but do you have the money to pay that? Think about that. Is it necessary? Okay, anyways, so there could be different ways where you can experience rejection here in this new environment, right? So what are you going to do to overcome that as well, right? That's why I say fail forward, right? If you go to an interview and you don't get it, right? Try to ask for feedback and see what you can improve. If worst case scenario, the company will not give you feedback. Best case scenario, they will, but also you will have to be aware of what went well and what didn't go that well so that you can improve. Next better, so you take that as a learning experience, and your next interview, you're gonna perform way better than before, right? So what will happen if you don't hear back from employers after you submit your resume? How are you gonna feel? Are you gonna feel defeated, or you're gonna make changes in your strategy? You're gonna evaluate what's working, what's not working. You're gonna make adjustments to make sure that your strategy is more successful. How are you going to stay motivated if you don't make it to the last stages of the hiring process, right? Very important thing, not to put all your eggs in one same basket, right? You want to have maybe 2 or 3 different hiring processes at the time, in case that something doesn't pan out after you go through interviews, etc. You have other options that you can resort to. What are you going to do when someone tells you that your experience in your country of origin is not valid in Canada? You can experience something like that. They can, is the Canadian experience stigma, probably the American experience stigma as well, right? Oh, but you don't have Canadian experience. Well, no, but I have this other experience and my accomplishments are this and this, and thanks to that, I can make these contributions at your company. Or if you want to mitigate that, right, you can do volunteer work and get Canadian experience or American experience. Volunteer work is something that is not common in our, for example, in Colombia, it's something that is not common, but you can do that. Now there are platforms that you can participate on to do like short-term projects, right? And that gives you some sort of experience as well, with small businesses and stuff. and you can get even a referral or a recommendation from the people that you helped with whatever specific project. So it's how you're going to have the conversation, how you confidently are going to help the other person who is challenging you because you don't have Canadian experience to still see the value that you have if you clearly articulate and illustrate the value or the contributions or the problems that you can solve for them. Okay, so that's regarding that. Okay, so I was listening to a podcast the other day, and then this guy Vishen Lakiani, who is an educator and entrepreneur, he was the guest speaker on the podcast, and he encourages everybody to answer 3 questions, right? First one, what do you want to experience in life? So think about your transition, right? What is the transition that you are trying to experience yourself? So what do you want to experience in life? Second question, how do you want to grow and develop yourself? Third, how do you want to contribute to the world, right? I'm not going to ask you to share that here. I want you to take these 3 questions for yourself and work on them in your downtime, okay? But I want to leave you with that for now. Again, you're going to get this recording. So if you didn't have enough time to copy them all, you can always go back to the recording. Okay, so first, what do you want to experience in life? Second, how do you want to grow and develop yourself? Third, how do you want to contribute to the world? So think about these questions in relationship with the transition that you are about to experience or that you are looking to experience, okay? Also, where do you want to see yourself in 5 years, right? So if you are planning on moving to Canada, right? Where do you want to see yourself in 5 years, right? Now, if you are going through a career change, right? Then think about what skills or credentials you need to get or to obtain in order to get where you are envisioning yourself that you want to be in the next 5 years, right? Nowadays, again, it's easier because there's so much content online that can help you get strengthened and a huge array of skills, right? Platforms like LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, even YouTube, right? If you don't know Excel, right, and you know that if you're working, for example, I don't know, as a travel consultant, right, and you didn't need to use advanced Excel, but now you're looking for a position maybe in insurance industry or financial industry where you know you need to have advanced Excel abilities. You go to YouTube and then you can train yourself on Excel Live for free. It's just the time investment that you need. So think about that. So what skills or credentials do you need to get in order to get to where you envision yourself in 5 years? Now, what skills you already possess that can help you thrive? So think about transferable skills, right? Think about the things that you can transfer from your past experience. And again, what is your current reality? Doesn't matter if you are a seasoned professional with over 10 years of experience, 15 years of experience. It doesn't matter if you are a recent grad with less experience, right? Or if someone who only has volunteer experience, right? It doesn't matter. Still, you have abilities that you can transfer over the other roles that you are looking to explore, right? So think about that. Again, self-awareness, do self-assessment, get to know yourself. And then what are the main challenges you face right now that can hinder your possibilities of getting to that vision of yourself within the next 5 years? So as important as it is to know our strengths, it is important to know our challenges too, right? So once you overcome the challenge, now what are you going to do to overcome that challenge, right? What do you need to put in place? Who do you need to talk to, etc. Okay. Now, finally, I think this is the final. I know that we went over the allocated time. So whoever is still here, thank you very much for
Still here, David.
staying with us. Okay?
They're still here.
Okay, cool.
We lost one person on the. We just lost one person on the webinar.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, so networking, okay? And we've been talking about this the entire time. Throughout the webinar, we've been talking about this networking. So for me, the most important word when it comes to networking is strategy, right? Your networking efforts have to be very strategic, right? Now more than ever, it is important for you to build relationships both online and offline. Now online, because again, like nobody can leave their places. Well, now, at least in Canada, the restrictions have been lifted like little by little, but there's still other places, for example, Colombia, where people went down on strict lockdown again last week, etc. So making online connections and building relationships with people is very important. Now, how do you build relationship with people? We're going to talk about LinkedIn specifically because I think it's a beautiful platform for that matter, right? I get, like, on a weekly basis, I get a lot of messages from folks from other countries. Hey, David, so I'm planning on going to Canada. This is my resume. Share it with your network, right? And I'm like, I don't know anything about you. You've never engaged with my content. Nothing. I don't know anything about you. And you are asking me to share your resume with my network or review my resume. Like, they think it's a trivial task. It's like it takes a lot of brain power to really
Yes, it
see
does.
if that document is really doing justice to the experience and the accomplishments that you have had throughout your trajectory, right? And they don't, most of the time, they don't even say, right, please, nothing. They demand that, right? And it might be something cultural. In other cultures, I've found that the approach is more assertive, right? So is this. Here, no, you need to build a relationship first, right? So for example, how can you build relationships on LinkedIn? If you are following people who are creating content, leave a thoughtful comment on their posts, right? I'm not saying you have to leave a comment on every single post that you see there, or if you follow someone that that you like their content, etc., that you need to leave a comment for every single thing that they post. No, but whatever resonates with you, leave a comment that goes beyond agreed, thank you for sharing, right? Take a moment to digest the posting, right? And see what can you write that adds extra value to what the content, so to what the author created. I actually posted that on my LinkedIn today, like challenging students who identify 5 people whose content resonate with them and leave a thoughtful comment, at least one comment a day, on those, for what the authors are writing, adding extra value, right? Why? Because it gives you visibility. Why? Because then the content creator is going to start remembering your name. So you're building a relationship without formally building a relationship, right? But if Danette is a content creator on LinkedIn, for example, and I like her content, and every day I'm like, or when she posts, like every now and then I'm like leaving a thoughtful comment, she will remember David Mendoza, right? She will remember that name. And then 2 weeks later or something, I will reach out to her, send actually a connection request. And in that space, that note, I will write, hey, Danette, your post today really resonated with me because this, and that. I would love to connect. Boom, send a connection request. Do you think Danette is going to tell me no? Or I can ask directly, like, I'm impressed by your journey. I would love to hear more about it at your best convenience. You think Danette is going to tell me no? She's going to tell me yes, because I've helped her promote her content through my engagement, right? She already knows my name. So we've built a relationship, and you don't know the opportunities that can be created through this engagement and these interactions that we have. Networking, and also for folks who are more on the introvert side, who maybe don't like, the career fairs or things like that, maybe networking online or on a platform through LinkedIn is way easier and more comfortable, right? So that's a way to do it. If you want to start posting your own content, that would be lovely as well, especially again for platforms like LinkedIn, where the outreach is still organic, and I think it's only 2% of the users of LinkedIn are creating content. So the chances of someone seeing your content are high, right? I've gotten a lot of requests for collaborations here, educators in Canada and the US, to do webinars, to talk to their students, and that through my content. Because some of their students, or some, they comment, so the other educators see those comments, right? And they, oh, let's have a look at this person's profile. Oh, nice, let's collaborate. Same thing there when you are a job seeker, right? If you are, for example, in the marketing industry, and you follow like someone in marketing who has a nice following base, and they're creating content, right? If you engage with their content, you never know who is going to stumble upon your comment or your profile. And it's something that is, it gives substance and it adds value. They will go see your profile and, oh, okay, let's have a conversation with this person and see if they're interested in an opportunity, right? I think it's way more effective to land the best opportunities by networking than by sending resumes online. From a personal experience, 14 years in Canada, say if I've had maybe 10 different opportunities, I think it was only one that I got applying online, which was, I think, in 2008, when I applied to apply to private college to do international recruitment. That's the only one. The rest of my opportunities, including my work at the college, my faculty opportunities at the college, my culinary tours opportunities, all of them through connections, through referrals, because people know my work, right?
We keep hearing this. I just want to reiterate, we keep hearing this from our presenters, the importance of the networking, and that how their life and their careers have expanded and just increased their net worth, right? Because of networking, because of connections, whether on LinkedIn or off.
There you go. You can, and you can find a job online for sure. You will eventually, but it's the longest way.
Yeah.
The longest road, right? So try to always try to impress a human rather than this one that I talked about in a webinar last week. Try to impress a human rather than trying to impress a robot, right? The robot, like, you will keep your resume there and it will never, like, I don't know, it depends on the algorithms that they manage, depending on each company, right? So try to impress a human first. So networking, huge part of your transition. Again, like, for example, for people, even if you are thinking about a transition from in your own company, that you just want to be promoted and get another job, network with other people in the other departments, etc. Build relationships, show your value, show your worth, ask questions, propose something, come up with a project that can help that specific department, right? That will help you get noticed, because the reality is that nowadays, of course, the market is more competitive because people are way more skilled than when they were 30, 20, 15 years ago, right? Because there's so much around us and we know so much of everything. So the market is more competitive. So then you need to go beyond the evident in order to get yourself noticed. Okay. Any thoughts of questions? We're coming to the end of the webinar.
Okay, so I have I have some stuff here. So the 3 questions, we get a comment that those are great. The 3 questions are great to ask yourself, and the importance of self-assessment. I also have here, wait a minute, David. I agree, David. We can find many programs and even LinkedIn experiences to learn from others. Adaptability and flexibility could be an important skill to face future challenges with a humble spirit. That was Andrea saying she's still here and happy to be here. Thanks for sharing your experiences to help us. We could enrich our LinkedIn networking, following them, engage with them, and show them that we appreciate them as humans and not just like robots, human-to-human conversations.
There you go.
And then I have a couple of my own. One on when you talked about acquiring skills online. We had a young lady come into the group about 2 weeks ago who had a great story of how she knew she wanted to work in the IT field. And so she was in healthcare and customer service. She taught herself enough of a program of 2 different programming languages, and she's on the live now, but she's muted because she's at work. She taught herself enough programming languages to get her first IT job. That was 5 years ago, or more than that
There you go.
now.
There
Okay,
you go.
so she did,
She
and she
taught herself.
Yes, and so anyone who's on here, she actually has a website up. She made a free website for us to go on and look. You can go to Coursera or different places for that. So I think that was great, David, that reminding people that we can go out there and do the self-directed training
Absolutely.
on our own. And we have some LinkedIn homework in the group. So this week, I believe, last week it was go out there and like some posts. This week it is to comment. So I'm piggybacking right on what you said, David, the importance of just getting out there and networking on LinkedIn now. Yeah.
Absolutely. Amazing. Thank
So
you very much for contributing to the conversation.
Yes, we got a lot of likes and loves and thank you.
Love it.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
All right. So now it's just, okay, go ahead. You can close it up. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Canada if you come here. If you want to get in touch with me, there's 3 ways. Email, connect@orbit5.ca. LinkedIn, which I'm very active on. So this is my LinkedIn handle. And I also have free weekly webinars on Mondays at 7 p.m. where I bring, they are usually for international students, so that's how they started, but I would be more than happy to open the room for your audience as well, Danette, right?
Okay, perfect.
So I bring a different guest speaker every week where we ask them, it's not a presentation like this, it's more a Q&A, right?
Q&A,
so for example, today I'm gonna have Ben White, who is a recruiter in the United States, and he manages a group of recruiters there for a talent development company. So I want to bring him in so he can share his journey, and he provides insights to students into how to understand better the world of recruitment, and so that they can increase or optimize the job search process.
Oh, that would be helpful for our members.
Yeah.
Can you send me the link, David?
Yeah, here.
And I'll post it up in the group.
You just need to.
Can I copy it from here?
You just need to register here to subscribe to webinars. Okay. But the one specific for today, I will send you the link.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank
then
you.
I've brought like other educators. I've brought international students who have had like very successful career trajectories at graduation. I've brought CEOs from companies as well. Next week, I'm bringing someone who will talk about mental health. So there's different topics, and so feel free to.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. I'm gonna post it, and then David, you're welcome to post it in our group.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and we also have quite a few career developers from universities in the group.
There you go.
In our group as well, on Facebook. Okay, so thank you, David. I loved this. I love all the presentations. I love this. I'm learning so much. And I have a couple of questions for you before we leave, okay?
Oh, yeah, okay, go ahead.
All right, so my first question is, Corona Daze Professional Development Group, part of our mission is to help marginalized groups, right? People from marginalized groups access education and training to enhance and teaching them how to network to enhance their career development, personal and professional development. Would you okay, so marginalized group could be marginalized by class, by race, right? Okay, so would you say that you identify as someone who was in a marginalized group, and if so, how were you 100%. Marginalized?
100%. I'm part of the LGBT community.
Okay, all right.
And I'm an immigrant, and I'm,
all right, yeah. Okay, all right, okay. So I asked this question because I want our group members to see that people who are from marginalized communities can be very successful. So whatever it is that marginalizes us, we can be successful, and we can lead webinars, and we can bring our knowledge to others. We can share with others. I want to set that example for our members. So, okay, my next question is, this is the good one. I love this one. What would you say to David, the 21-year-old David?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oof, I would say do not compare to anybody. 21. Oh,
any lessons? When you were 21 years old.
At 21, I was still doing up the bachelor in business. I would say drop that program. Drop that like right now and do something else. Do not compare to anyone and embrace yourself, your authentic self.
Oh, I love it. Embrace
Yeah.
your authentic self. Okay. And then as we close, is there anything you want to leave us with? Any just parting words that you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah. So I just want to tell you that no matter, so, you know, like we are in a very pivotal moment in history right now. I think this is a year that we will always remember. It's a year that impacted every single human in the planet, every single because you know what, Janet, for example, when there's a tsunami, when there's an earthquake, some people get impacted.
Yeah.
But this impacted every single person in the world.
Yes.
No matter where they are, everybody got impacted to some extent, right? So I think it's a huge opportunity for self-reflection, for self-awareness, and to really value, for you to really think about what is it that you really value in life.
Yeah.
What is it, right? And cultivate that. Whatever it is for you. I can value things that you value others. Whatever you value, work hard, diligently. So you cultivate your actions and your thoughts towards living your life by those values that you have set yourself for, and hopefully try to make the best or the most of this crisis by, you know, developing awareness on what are the things that you want to do with your life and how you want to live your life.
Yeah.
That's it.
I love it.
Thank you
I
very
love
much for the
it.
opportunity.
Thank you for being here with
and
us.
for hosting me.
Yes. Well, you know, you're welcome to come back whenever you'd like. And
so
I thank you so much for the work that you're doing, David. Have a great day.
Bye, Danette. Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much. Bye, everyone. Ciao.